My name is Denise Gerbrick, and we're here at the Capitol today to bring awareness to the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, that is commonly known as NESARA. Some people have heard of NESARA, most people haven't. Those who have pretty much gotten their information off of the internet, which I'm sorry to say is mired in misconception and conspiracy. And we're hoping to change that by bringing awareness to it. NESARA is a bill that was written by my dad, R.B.F. Bernard. He wrote it and brought it up to Washington in the 1990s. And because it is a people's bill and it calls for monetary reform that has, for the United States and also has global implications, it did not get too much press there. They were not very happy. It's a very challenging bill. So what is NESARA really? I think people want to know. NESARA is a bill that has two proposals. One is to amend the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, and under that proposal there are three major components. The first one is to remove our currency, the control of our currency, from the Federal Reserve and place it into a Treasury Reserve, newly formed Treasury Reserve, with a Board of Governors controlled by the Congress. What that means is the American people now have control of that currency. The second part of that proposal is to return our backing of our currency to a bimetallic, people say gold and silver. In the modern day era, I think that probably needs to be tweaked a little bit. This bill was written 30 years ago. There's a lot of global implications there that need to be considered. The third part of the bill calls for banking reforms, and it is mostly to do with the compound interest. See, banks would return to be more of a public utility as opposed to being a big conglomerate money-making business. Now, the second part of the bill is to replace the Internal Revenue Service with a national sales tax. People have been talking about national sales tax for a long time. It is really a fair taxation system. It is equal across the board. It's a consumption tax. You're taxed on what you consume, right? So when you go to buy something, that's when you pay your taxes. Many items are not taxed under this proposal. Medicine, pharmaceuticals, medical services, rent, food, some raw materials that would be used for manufacturing are not taxed. It eliminates capital gains tax, estate tax, and corporate income tax, which, as that works down, is going to lower the prices of retail items. All the hidden tax that's passed down and passed down and passed down goes away. It will also provide a permanent incentive for companies to do business here. I applaud the current administration for they're doing a wonderful job, and our president is able to do those things because of his personality, his presence, and his ability to negotiate. The unfortunate truth about that is that he and his successors are not going to be around forever, and the pendulum's going to swing. It always does. And as it does, the American people are hanging on at the bottom, right? So we need something permanent that will keep companies here and keep companies doing business here. The National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, otherwise known as NESARA, would actually help common people on many, many levels. Let's take the example of a homeowner buying a house. Right now, when you buy a house, we have what's called compound interest. So you are paying for 2.5 houses by the time of the end of your mortgage. NESARA would give a monetization fee to the banks, do away with compound interest, so when you buy your house, you're buying a house and a half, thereby saving you tons of money. The taxation portion of this bill, you will now get the money that the federal government was withholding from your taxes, from your paycheck every week, back in your paycheck, because you actually pay your tax when you go to the cash register. By replacing the IRS, and everybody knows the IRS has gotten way too big and way too powerful. It has been and can be weaponized. It also invades Americans' privacy. When you pay your tax at the cash register, you maintain your privacy. You can keep your receipt or not. When you really begin to learn about our economic system here in the United States and take a good hard look at it, you quickly realize that the system is set against us. It has been designed for the few under the pretense that it serves the many. And I believe John Adams used that quote. NESARA fixes a great many of those problems. It equalizes the playing field. It makes fair taxation. You have control of your money in your hands, not in the hands of the government. It calls for great spending cuts, also in government, which, that's what we're going through right now. We need more of that. On a personal note, I would like to say that my father believed that fair monetary system was a natural right. It is something that is endowed by our Creator, and he believed very strongly in that, and I do too. He worked very hard on this bill. It was his life's work, and in 2005, he put it all together in a book, and he was way ahead of his time. So as we bring awareness and we seek support, if anyone's interested, we would love them to go to our website, purchase this book, even if you don't support the bill. You're going to learn about your monetary rights. Unfortunately, in this country, we have been unbeknownst, economically enslaved, let's say. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. And one thing about my father and the way he wrote his book is it's very simple to understand. I'll tell you a little funny story. When I went to actually put this book into paperback, I was working with some writers, and I had never read my father's book. People are amazed by that. And they said, well, this was your dad's book. Why haven't you ever read it? And I said, well, I think I'm like most Americans. I think about the economy and, that's way over my head. I'll never be able to understand all this stuff. Wrong. Harvey he was a teacher, and he had a great way of meeting you where you are and explaining things. And he's got humor in the book, and it's just fascinating. I would like people to learn about their monetary rights. My father, Harvey F. Bernard, wrote his book 20 years ago. And in that book, he outlined the bill, his formulas, the history, and everything that Americans really need to educate themselves on about their monetary rights. It's funny. America is at a tipping point. America is in a lifeboat hanging over the edge of a cliff. At the bottom of that ravine is a dry riverbed. The rope that is holding us has got a thread. Okay? It is time for us to take a hard look in the mirror and ask ourselves some questions. Do we want to have control of our currency? Do we want to continue to be under the thumb of the Internal Revenue Service? I think most people would say no. And because of those major issues and the broader global implications of that, it has been very difficult for us to bring awareness. The future of America, I'm sorry to say, if we don't take a hard look in the mirror and start making some serious reforms, it looks bleak. I know that that's not a popular opinion, and I know that a lot of good things are happening with the economy right now, but that's when people kind of lay back and take it easy. I believe that that's a time to make some hard decisions. If we don't, we're going to run out of time. Well, it is important because, as my father saw it, and I believe as well, monetary rights are a natural right. Just like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the Constitution, inalienable rights given to us by our Creator. And the more people educate themselves about that, the more they come to that conclusion. So if you go to the website, there's a place where you can contact us, and it goes to my email. You can reach out to me anytime. I will answer questions. I encourage you to spread the word, talk to your representatives, tell them that you are interested in this type of reform.